friends, today we are going to be throwing this little goat vase, this closed form, this cylinder trimless form. We're going to make it today, and then tomorrow we're going to add horns, ears, beard, tail, and feet. But today is all about throwing, so let's do this thing. Okay, so I've got just under 2 pounds. I'm going to get to throwing. And remember, this video is going to be for beginners and intermediates, and it's all about angles, pressure, pushing down, and not a lot of water. Remember, you don't need a lot of water. So here we go. Of course, you need a lot of water, haha, when you're centering. So I'm going to center, starting my kick wheel, kicking Flintstone style. Now I use the motor. I'm pushing down and in, down and in. When can that wheel help me? I'm pushing down on the wheel with the side of my hand. Down and in, pushing down and in. So I'm centered, now I'm going in. Still need a lot of water. Still need a lot of speed. I'm going to check. Always stop the wheel. All my terrible jokes, my students know. I'm going to pull out probably about 3 inches out. Push down, a 1/4 inch. I mean, there's no trimming involved here. So I'm going to make absolutely sure that I've got that face the way I want it. And I can really push down in the corner with the edge of my finger here to make sure I've got that nice soft 90-degree angle down there so I can throw. You don't want to throw off the bowl form. You know what I say, physics is against you. The clay centrifugal force wants you to go out. So you're going to go straight up and in. A little more pressure from that outside hand. Now I'm using my sponge absolutely because I don't want to make this sodden with water. I'm making this nice Doric column. Not only that tapered shape, but actually the wall, if I were to cut this in half, you would see it's a little bit wider on the bottom than it is on the top, of course. But this is your angles, pressure, and pushing down. When in doubt, check your angle, your pressure, and your pushing down, and one of those will be your problem if things aren't working out. I'm just throwing this cylinder, making sure it's that nice volcano, that tapered shape, that attenuated shape. That means more pressure from the outside hand because it wants to go out. You're not allowing that. Nice and even, and it's about that equal distribution of material. It's not about thinness, it's about equal distribution. And look how I just get a little bit of water on my hand. I'm never gonna put water on the form, never. Only on my hand. It just sort of hydroplanes over my hand. I'm going in. More pressure from that outside hand. Throwing this nice cylinder. If things get mildly out of control, you know what to do. Put your water, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, collaring. So we're making this nice trimless cylinder, and we're going to close it. So if you're ever having a problem with the cylinder, you can always close it and fix the problem because that trapped air in there is going to help resist your pressure, because that's what it's all about. Understanding the material, how it resists you, or how it doesn't resist you, right? So I'm going again. You can see I've never gone for more water with my sponge. It's the beauty of the sponge. My fingers pressing behind it. Getting up to the top there. You can see it's getting a little wider. Pushing in, pushing in, pushing in. More pressure with that outside hand. Throwing the weight out of it, nice and dry. You know, it's not that sensuous throwing we were all taught to do, where the clay is super wet. But you're going to get a lot more height, a lot more stand out of the clay if you don't saturate it with water. Much better clay to work with. Alright, make sure you can't see yourself in the wishing well, right? No water in the bottom. You know, I'm going to look at my form and see if I like it. Can always come over here. I'm using basic tools really, but here's a nice throwing stick. If I've got to push in or something weird, I can come, wet the tool lightly, and just push it back out with this lovely throwing stick. Okay, I'm using it. I'm writing English, not Western. I'm not moving the tool. I'm here. The tool just goes back and forth, barely. Let the wheel do the work. You're moving very little. The wheel do its work. You're controlled, elbows in, light movements. And the wheel is bringing you that clay on the right side of the pot at 3 or 4 o'clock, correct? Right. Making sure it's not, again, it's equal distribution of the material. Make sure there's no water in there. Close it up. So collaring, pressure, 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 pressure. Narrow, narrow, narrow. And that makes that top clay, you know, from about here up thicker. Of course, when you collar in, it's going to make it thicker. So I'll just thin that out again. Just puffing it out, giving it a breath with my little tool. So I don't have to put my whole peasant hand in there, my big wide hand in there. Right. Pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, pushing in. Collaring, narrowing, going back and forth. And now I'm going to close it. More pressure, more pressure. And if it's a little bit off, that's okay. Once I close the form and trap that air in there, it's going to resist me more. And that offness won't matter. It'll just come off in my hand, and I'll show you what I mean when we get there. Okay. It's a little fatter. I'm going to make this into a vase. Sometimes I make them in, they're more narrow, and I'm really throwing with the throwing stick, and I would make them into a little candle holder or something like that. Look what I'm going to do now. So I'm here. The surface isn't too wet. Gotta have a little bit of water on my hands to so they hydroplane over the surface, but I haven't saturated that surface, so it's not about to sort of sag or collapse. And that's the beauty of throwing with not much water at all. We're always throwing with sponge, baby. And porcelain taught me that. It's like throwing cream cheese. I got a bunch of porcelain this one time for free, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll be learning how to throw porcelain. So I learned not to saturate that surface too much. So here we go. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to slightly change the angle. So trajectory, up, 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 up. And now I'm going to straighten it out ever so slightly. And close it. And look how that little bit comes off of my hand. That little offness, that little undulation at the top there. So again, curve, curve, or excuse me, angle, 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 angle. And then it's going to straighten out ever so slightly, and you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. So now let me rib this form within an inch of this life to get all that extra water off. And this is sort of weird because I don't have much to hold on to. See how that changes? That angle changes. More straight up and down. So I'm getting a lot of the lines off of there, the throwing lines, even though I can still slightly see them. Pushing in, pushing in. This is about angles. I don't want to just plug it into the side or I'm turning wood, right? I'm like trimming with this tool. And a little bit of clay is going to come off the form, but not too much. And I get to the top and it slightly changes. It's more straight up and down. More straight up and down, right? So this is a naked form. And we are absolutely never nudes, right? We are never nudes when we make pots. We want some structure, some punctuation, some line on the form. This makes us comfortable. This is just a blank. There's nothing going on here. So we need to give the form some punctuation. And what does that for human beings? Line, line, line. So let's make some lines. So the first line we're going to make is a line of intention, and that's where I turn the rib over and I've actually got this point that widens out. So look, when I bend and push it in, it makes this wonderful shadow catching channel, right? No boogers, no nothing. Your propensity is to always go for a tool. This is a stylus or a pen. I am making a line. And if you make a line with that, it's a nasty, boogery line, okay? That you gotta go clean out later, and you're gonna make another line. So make this nice shadow catching channel with it. Just that lovely point on the back of your rib. That's what it's for, okay? So that's a line of intention. Here's a line of consequence. So let's look at the form. So I need to bevel this, right? But I want to use everything I've got. So I want to bevel this form, but everything is clear and everything is, there's no undulation in the form. It's completely straight and set. So I want to make sure that line, this line of consequence is straight. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I'm just pushing this tool down, 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 down. It's a pushing down. You know, I'll get it away. That makes sure the line is nice and straight. This line of consequence that I'm going to make when I flip that little buttressed out piece up, that line is straight. There's nothing else on the pot that's moving. And this is all about the harmony of repetition, right? Like all good craft. I want that repeated theme. Symmetrical, straight. So even this line that I'm going to flip up, this line of consequence, and it's just a line of consequence because I cleaned it, pushing in, down, 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 in, and now I've got that lovely line that I'm going to flip up. Digits wiggle and they run out of water, so again I'm going to use my sponge and I'm pushing down, 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 pushing in, pushing in, pushing in, and that's a nice little line of consequence down there, right? I flip that edge up and now I have yet another line, more structure to the pot, okay? So I'm looking, seeing what I like. I'm just going to straighten this up. I'm pushing in and up. So again, angle, angle, then straightening up a little bit. Okay. So it's this funny little rocket ship. Alright. So I'm going to decorate. You know, I'm setting this up for later decoration because I'm a decorating fool. So what I'm going to do is, again, using this wonderful tool, I'm just going to scallop this. I'm pushing it out, 3 fingers on the front, thumb and pinky bending. And I'm just making more lines of intention. And I'm giving the viewer user this tactile memory too. When they touch this form, they're going to be able to touch it and feel those little ridges. It's quite pleasant. But I can always decorate between those 2 lines, or these million lines, sorry. Those 2 lines being boom, boom, these registers of information here. Or I can completely break it, and if I run another tool up that line, because the surface has this slight scallop look, the lines are going to get wide, thin, wide, thin. That's just more interesting. It's nicer. You have this variation in line that you're looking for, right? Just setting it up. That's what you always want to do with your pots. That's what I see mostly with studiantes, is these naked forms. That's what the viewer wants. That's what the user wants. They want to see, they know what they like, right? That's what they always say. I don't know art, but I know what I like. And what they like is you to figure every single thing out about it. You are finishing and figuring out this form for them so they can enjoy it. No thinking. This is where we manipulate. Enjoy it. Manipulate your viewer user, please. Because once it's out of our hands, they use it how they want to use it. Our time with them is over. Okay. So I got this funny little form. It's got these nice scallops on it, a lot of line. I've got my line of intention, my line of consequence, nice beefy bottom, a nice finish. So again, that's what your viewer user wants to see, a nice beginning, middle, and ending, and they see line. So I'm really going to bevel. You know, this is a tapered tool. It's narrow to wide, so I'm pushing down, pushing in, pushing in, pushing in. So I have a lot of negative space under there, right? So I'm going to fill that in a minute. I don't want the bottom to buckle when I lightly alter this bottom, right? So there's got to be some space in there, some negative space in there that clay is going to fill in when I start altering, okay? So here it is. Let me turn off my wheel. This is the beauty. I'm always teasing students about the little Fisher-Price wheels. No disrespect, all wheels are fantastic, but I do love the kick wheel because I can alter Flintstone style and move the wheel around with my foot, you know. It's like driving a stick. After a point, you don't even know you're doing it, and it really helps me. So I have to move the actual wheel around. I'd be loving my Lockerbie, my beautiful friend. So here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you why we changed angles. If that was just a cone, I'm going to push this over and make this sort of head. And if I left it at the same angle, this way, it would want to crease. Sometimes it does anyway, but this is an easier, and of course inside I'm like, please don't crease. But right now, I want it to turn over and be really fluid in its throat. I can often hide that with the little beardy there for my little goatee, or the chest tufts. My friend Janet Fry told me about that goats have a lot of chest tufts, so we can pretend this is a chest tuft or a little beard, right? But changing that angle here makes it so I can turn it, push it over, and a lot of times it won't crease. It looks more natural. So here we go. So here I am. I'm just going to push it over. And I'm not pushing it over. I'm putting pressure on the top. Not digits wiggle. It's the same thing. Use those big flat planes, much like the rib. This is big wide that you're putting on the pot. Same with the big wide planes of your hands. You use them a lot. So you can see how I'm pushing, trying not to get that crease. Shaping. I can only do this because the clay is dry, because I threw so dry. You know. And it's not dry, it's just not sodden. My hands aren't sticking to it, but pushing over, getting a little crease, but better. It's also making that, you know, this is a goat, and the attributes to a goat are that big wedge-shaped, flat head. You can hear my dog snoring. I love you. Pushing over, pushing over. Again, not pushing over, pushing down and over. Down, down and over. So I'm getting that nice shape I want. Maybe I'm going to come to my awesome tapered needle tool, putting it towards me. I'll put it towards you. And just flattening that head even more. Flattening it even more. Flattening it even more. That nice, broad, flat goatee head. Okay. And now, you know, taking that head as the lead, I'm going to push the bottom in. You know, I'm going to put feet on this thing, and feet look really great. And they're going to be like these little hooves, right? Feet look really great on corners, like a table, like anything wooden. And wood is what I look at mostly. So I want to be able to put those feet, those little legs with those dainty little hooves right on an edge, so I can get a plane here, a plane here. So it looks like it was always there, right? It's not just sort of stuck on something round, floating in space. It's real intentional on that soft implied 90-degree angle, right? Plane here, foot coming down, slightly wider. And look how this line, how now I have all this, I can use that line to make things even all the way around. No nudity, I've got all that wonderful line. We'll talk about that incessantly tomorrow. All right, so here I go. So now I'm going to use my handy dandy tools that I always use. I like to alter right away. Don't like a lot of tension in the work. And if I throw dry, I can always come in here and alter when the clay is still wetter, you know. And I know it's confusing, but the clay is still wet and pliable. But if I alter at leather hard, which is 0 is right off the wheel, this is a 0, and 10 is bone dry, 5 is leather hard. And if I alter at a 5 in the middle at leather hard, there's a tension in the work. The clay resists. I don't want the clay to resist. I want it to always look like the bottom was square, so I'm going to do it now. So with this little head as my guide, because I want the head to be sort of in the middle of one flat side, and then have these flat sides on each side, and then the back flat. I'm going to go here. I've got this nice paddle. It's got a nice 90-degree angle here, so I can get right down to the bottom of this bat. If it's rounded, I'm not going to get all the way down. I want it right down at the bottom. I beveled so bigly, so hugely, so nice that I'm going to be able to fill in that space with this clay that I'm pushing in, and you don't push it in or you buckle, you're going to cajole it in, go back and forth. So here I go. Back and forth, back and forth. Always go to the opposite side, please. Back and forth, back and forth. Of course, I could have used my little square bat, but I didn't. So now I've got those nice implied corners. It's going to make total sense. It's going to make absolute and total sense that those feet go on there like a little table leg onto a table. Got those planes here and here. Of course, on the inside, it's sort of rounded, but I'm just implying that nice 90-degree down there. Look, I have these little points. It's so nice. Other in other forms that we'd make, eating forms or something where you've got this nice little point, that'd be a lovely bottom to finish off, you know, a nice little platter or something like that, okay? I made that nice line of intention. You can still see it, this line of consequence. It becomes this little step. This is all going well. So now I'm going to bevel. Every form in your arsenal of forms is beveled. All those details are the same. So just back and forth. One edge to another. You can't really see me because I'm in the back, but one side to another. Flintstone moving the wheel, one side to another. All your forms are beveled. All your edges are the same. That way you have so many forms in your arsenal of forms. But there's always relationships. You can have tons of different kinds of forms and interest using the wheel as a starting point. All your details are the same, and that makes something in the booth, something in the gallery. All of those pots have the same feeling, and that's what we want. All right. And that's what you are. That's who you are. All your little details. Okay. So there you go. There's your little pot. It's nice and dry. You're going to, you know, this is definitely a little tubby one. No crease, pushed over the top. Nice, a buoyant form. Taking a breath. You've got a nice punctuated beginning, middle, and ending by virtue of just turning in space like this. And tomorrow we will make it into the goat vase, which will be delightful, and that terrible word, whimsical, but it will be delightful. So here we go. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. All my students here that don't have wheels at home, you guys need to be drawing. You need to be making nice drawing. A lot of times when we have our lovely weekly classes, we're sketching on the wheel, making forms, trying things out. We don't have time for that when we get back to business, so I want you all to be drawing, making marks all the time in your sketchbooks. Get off the computer, please, and make your marks and make nice articulated forms, so when we throw, we're going to make nice articulated forms. Plan out what you're going to make. You know, call me, you know, anything you want to do, message me and we'll talk about it and tell me what we want to do in our future, what we're going to be. When we're on the wheel, we want to start strong because we've been a long time away from our wheels. Old students, I miss you guys. I love you. You know that it's all about community and it's all about being together. And the magic happens when we were all together, and I miss you guys a lot, and I can't wait till we can be together, new students and old students, again, and make pots. Bye.